Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why the most powerful people you meet are often the quietest in the room? Your privacy is your greatest power, and in today's hyper-connected world, it's also your greatest defense. We've entered a culture that worships oversharing. Every detail of life is captured, posted, and consumed: relationships, failures, dreams, and disappointments. But here's the truth: the more people know about you, the more power they have over you. When your life becomes an open book, you're no longer the author. Anyone can pick up the pen and rewrite your narrative. Privacy gives you control. It gives you the upper hand in a world that thrives on exposure and intrusion. When you stop telling everyone everything, you start reclaiming your voice. People often think that by opening up, they're building trust, but not everyone who listens has good intentions. Some only pretend to care, but behind the mask is curiosity fueled by comparison, envy, or malice. They ask not to support you, but to evaluate you, measure you, and in some cases undermine you. What they don't know, they can't twist. What they don't see, they can't judge. And what you protect, they can never destroy. Keeping certain parts of your life private isn't being cold, secretive, or distant. It's being smart. It's understanding that peace and privacy go hand in hand. Not everyone should have a key to your inner world. Some doors must remain closed. In a time where people feel entitled to know everything about everyone, the person who values discretion stands out. You become unpredictable, unshakable, and unreadable. People won't know if you're succeeding or struggling, healing or hurting, falling or rising, and that mystery, it makes you powerful, because silence creates space for growth, space for healing, space for real connection without performance. It frees you from the pressure to explain, impress, or defend. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to showcase your pain or parade your joy. You can simply live, without commentary, without applause, without judgment. Privacy gives you the luxury to process life before presenting it. It allows you to make decisions without interference, build quietly without noise, and evolve without resistance. When you keep your goals private, you reduce the pressure of expectations. When you guard your relationships, you protect their intimacy. When you heal in silence, you gain real strength, not performative pity. Not everyone deserves access to your process. Most people aren't rooting for you. They're watching, waiting, speculating. Your silence keeps them guessing, and when they can't guess, they can't interfere. Too often, people confuse privacy with secrecy, but there's a difference. Secrets are built on fear. Privacy is built on power. Secrecy hides from the world. Privacy protects your world. It's a conscious choice to draw boundaries, to say, this is mine, and to defend it from those who haven't earned the right to know. Just because you're silent doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're preserving what matters. You're keeping sacred what the world would only turn into gossip, critique, or spectacle. We live in an age of validation, where self-worth is measured by likes, views, and engagement, but validation is fleeting, it's addictive, it hooks you on approval and exposes you to criticism. Privacy, on the other hand, is stable. It's rooted, it doesn't seek attention, it demands respect. When you live privately, you're not seeking to be seen. You're choosing to be whole. You don't need permission to be who you are. You don't need an audience to live authentically. The people who truly win in life are the ones who know how to stay silent in a noisy world. They don't tell everyone what they're building until it's done. They don't discuss their relationships with strangers. They don't explain their every move to those who aren't walking with them. They let their presence speak, their results show, and their peace echo louder than any performance ever could. They walk in power because they walk in privacy. Your story is sacred. Your journey is yours, and your life doesn't need to be public property to be meaningful. So hold it close, guard it well, because the less people know about your life, the more peaceful, powerful, and unshakable it becomes. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. That's not arrogance, it's awareness. It's wisdom earned through experience, through betrayal, through realizing that not every smile is genuine and not every presence is pure. You cannot allow just anyone to sit with you, eat with you, hear your dreams, or witness your struggles. Your table, your life, your energy, your space is sacred, and what you allow in it determines what you receive from it. Too often, people hand out access like it's nothing, out of loneliness, out of guilt, or out of habit. They allow people into their world who only take, who only drain, who only come to benefit but never to build. And then they wonder why they feel so depleted, so misunderstood, so disappointed. The truth is, not everyone who walks into your life was meant to stay. Some were just passing through. Some were there to teach you boundaries, not become a permanent fixture in your inner circle. You have to be selective. You have to evaluate energy the same way you evaluate your time or your money, because it's just as valuable. Would you let someone walk into your home and rearrange your furniture, insult your taste, or steal your possessions? Then why let them do that to your peace, your mind, or your dreams? The wrong people will poison your vision, distract your focus, and plant seeds of doubt where confidence should grow. They'll call it love, they'll disguise it as concern, but deep down it's control, it's competition, it's entitlement. You are allowed to say no, you are allowed to outgrow people, you are allowed to elevate and not bring everyone with you. Growth demands separation. Not everyone can handle your next level. Some people liked you better when you were doubting yourself, when you were playing small, when you were easy to manipulate. The moment you stand up for yourself, the moment you stop oversharing, the moment you choose peace over chaos, they feel threatened. Why? Because they were never clapping for you. They were clapping for your struggle. They liked being the one you leaned on, not the one you stood beside. Your table should be a place of nourishment, not noise, a place of connection, not chaos. Protect it like your future depends on it, because it does. People influence you more than you realize. Their opinions seep into your decisions, their energy infects your atmosphere, and their presence either lifts you or limits you. You cannot rise while holding on to anchors. You cannot heal while sitting next to the source of your pain. You cannot build while surrounded by those who only know how to break. There's nothing selfish about protecting your space. It's survival. It's self-respect. It's the realization that you are not responsible for fixing everyone, helping everyone, or including everyone. Some people bring storms. Some come with hidden agendas. Some are only around to monitor, not to support. And if you let them too close, they will sabotage you with a smile. Learn to observe more than you speak. Watch how they react to your wins. Pay attention to the energy when you share good news. Real ones celebrate you. The rest tolerate you. You don't need a crowd. You need a crew. You need people who don't just sit at your table, but bring something of value, honesty, loyalty, growth, truth. People who challenge you to be better, not bitter. People who show up not only when it's convenient, but when it's uncomfortable. People who aren't intimidated by your light, but inspired by it. Those are the ones who deserve a seat. Everyone won't understand your standards, and that's okay. Your life is not a public buffet. It's an invitation, only gathering, and the more you value yourself, the more selective you become. You realize that peace is better than popularity, that alignment is more valuable than approval. And that quality beats quantity every time, so guard your space. Don't explain your boundaries. Don't apologize for growing. Don't feel bad for cutting ties that were draining you. Not everyone deserves to sit with you. Some never did. And when you finally understand that, you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop setting yourself on fire to keep people warm. You stop allowing chaos to dine at your table. You rise, you heal, you thrive. Mystery protects you in ways that loudness never will. In a world that begs you to share everything, your thoughts, your plans, your heartbreak, your happiness, choosing mystery is rebellion. It's strength disguised in silence. It's strategy hidden in simplicity. When people can't figure you out, they can't control you, and when they can't predict your next move, they can't interfere with it. There is power in being unreadable. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop broadcasting every detail of your life, you create space between you and the world, a space where peace can grow and your power can deepen. Mystery doesn't mean hiding who you are. It means being intentional with what you reveal. It means recognizing that your energy, your thoughts, your emotions are sacred, not for public display or casual consumption. When you stay mysterious, you keep your essence intact. You don't dilute yourself for attention or applause. You become grounded. People don't get to decide who you are because you're not busy performing for them. Instead, they're left wondering, guessing, speculating. And in that space of not knowing, you hold the advantage. People are naturally curious. They want answers, labels, explanations. They want to put you in a box, define your intentions, and predict your reactions. But mystery denies them that comfort. It disrupts the illusion of control. It protects you from being easily targeted, easily manipulated, easily dismissed. The more people know about your fears, your desires, your weaknesses, the more they can use them against you. But when you stay quiet, calm, and unpredictable, you give them nothing to work with. No fuel, no access, no leverage. Mystery makes you unforgettable. It's what keeps people intrigued, keeps them talking, keeps them watching. Not because you're trying to be seen, but because you're not trying at all. While everyone else fights to be noticed, to be loud, to be understood, you remain silent and steady. That's magnetic, because when you don't seek attention, it finds you. When you don't chase validation, it chases you. Your calm presence becomes louder than their noise. Your silence becomes your reputation. Every time you withhold, you create depth. Every time you resist the urge to overshare, you reinforce your strength. Not everything you feel needs to be spoken. Not every win needs to be posted. Not every thought needs an audience. The world has confused vulnerability with exposure, but real power is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. When you move in mystery, you build without disruption. You heal without commentary. You evolve without resistance. Mystery also gives you the room to grow without pressure. When people don't know what you're working on, they can't rush your progress. They can't doubt your vision. They can't steal your ideas or sabotage your plans. You move in silence and they find out after it's done, not before it starts. You protect your process from opinions, criticism, and unnecessary noise. You stay focused. You keep your energy concentrated, and the results speak far louder than any explanation ever could. You don't owe people your pain. You don't owe them your dreams. You don't have to justify your decisions or explain your evolution. You are allowed to transform quietly. You are allowed to disappear and come back stronger, wiser, clearer. Let them think you're quiet. Let them think you're average. Let them sleep on you, because when you rise, and you will, your silence will echo louder than their doubt ever did. The fewer people know, the safer you are. Not because you're scared, but because you're wise. Because you understand that the world doesn't need full access to your spirit. That not every part of your life is up for discussion. That some things are more powerful when they're private. Mystery guards your light from those who would dim it. It keeps your soul protected from those who only want to dissect it. And most importantly, it reminds you that your life is yours. Not a public story, not a spectacle, not a product to be consumed. So when the world pressures you to explain, resist. When it begs you to reveal, pause. And when it demands your truth, remember this: the most powerful thing you can ever be is unknown, not because you're hiding, but because you're choosing to protect what others would only misuse. In the quiet, in the mystery, in the unseen, that's where your real strength lies. They watch more than they listen. People don't just hear your words. They study your actions, your patterns, your energy. They observe how you carry yourself, how you respond under pressure, how you treat others when no one's looking. In silence, they gather information. In your presence, they form conclusions not based on what you say, but on what you consistently show. That's why appearances don't lie, behavior does the talking. People may smile to your face while taking mental notes, remembering not what you told them, but how you made them feel, how you shifted the room, how you moved differently when no one was clapping. You might think no one's paying attention when you walk into the room quietly or when you choose not to engage in drama, but trust this: someone is always watching. They may not comment, they may not compliment, but they're observing. They're sizing up your energy, learning your rhythms, watching your wins and your wounds. The ones who talk less often see more. The ones who stay silent often understand more than the ones who speak loudest. And in this world, where words are cheap and easily forgotten, your consistency becomes your identity. People remember how you act more than what you claim. You can preach about loyalty, but if your actions show betrayal, the words lose their meaning. You can speak of peace, but if you're always involved in conflict, the message is empty. It's not your voice they trust, it's your follow-through. The way you show up when no one asks, the way you stand your ground when it's hard, the way you walk away without making noise, Those moments speak louder than 1,000 declarations. This is why it's dangerous to rely on image alone. Performances fade, but patterns expose. People are not blind to energy. They can feel when something's off, even if they can't explain it. They notice the subtle changes, the way your tone shifts when certain names are mentioned, the way your smile doesn't reach your eyes, the way your energy dips in certain conversations. They listen with their eyes more than with their ears. They read your body language, your pauses, your silences. They track your habits. They sense the contradictions between what you say and what you do. When people can't figure you out through your words, they rely on observation. That's why silence is so powerful. It leaves no room for misinterpretation, no ammunition for manipulation. When you speak less, they pay attention more. Every move becomes amplified, every action magnified. So use that to your advantage. Let your life be your loudest statement. Let your peace be your protest. Let your boundaries be your explanation. You don't have to justify your silence to people who weren't listening when you were speaking anyway. In a world obsessed with noise, those who observe are always ahead. They catch what others miss. They see through the performance and into the truth. And often, those people aren't watching for support. They're watching to measure, to compare, to compete. Not everyone observing you is rooting for you. Some are waiting to see you fall. Some are studying your strengths to imitate them or to exploit them. That's why discretion is key. Don't show your entire hand. Let them wonder what your next move is. Let them guess. Let them assume. And when it's time to act, let your actions speak so loud that your silence doesn't need explaining. You don't need to keep announcing your progress. You don't have to prove anything to people who are only watching to judge. Move quietly and let them see the outcome, because the people who really understand you will watch with respect, not suspicion. They'll listen with their hearts, not just their ears, and those who misunderstand you, let them. That's not your burden to carry. People will always watch more than they listen. They will watch how you handle loss, how you deal with rejection, how you treat others when you're winning. That's why character matters more than charisma. That's why authenticity holds more weight than attention. You don't need to shout to be seen. You don't need to explain to be understood. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your presence explain everything they couldn't hear in your words. Because in the end, it's not what you said that they'll remember, it's what you did when you thought no one was looking. Guard your story like it's gold, because that's exactly what it is. Your journey, your struggles, your growth, these are not just moments, they are treasures. They are not meant for casual conversation or public display. They carry weight, scars, wisdom, and sacred lessons. Not everyone deserves to hear them. Not everyone is equipped to honor them. Some will take your story and twist it. Some will pretend to care just to collect information. And some, without even realizing it, will devalue you what took you years to survive and overcome. We live in a world that encourages exposure. Tell everything, share everything, post everything, but wisdom whispers otherwise. It tells you to protect what matters. It reminds you that sacred things lose power when spoken to the wrong ears. Your story is not a status update. It's not content. It's not entertainment for bored people who are only half listening. It's a part of your soul. And once it leaves your lips, you lose control over how it's heard, how it's handled, and how it's repeated. There are people who act interested in your life not because they care, but because they're curious about your pain, curious about your failures, curious about how far you've come, not to celebrate you, but to measure themselves against you. Or worse, to use your honesty as ammunition. That's why discernment is vital. That's why boundaries are necessary. You have every right to keep your story close. You owe no one your backstory just because they ask nicely. Some people only want access so they can attach themselves to your growth or feel superior because they think they understand you. Every detail you share is a gift. Every truth you offer is a piece of yourself. So why throw it to people who haven't earned it? Why open up to those who have no idea how to hold space for your vulnerability? Your voice has power, and that power should be protected. Not everyone who asks deserves an answer. Not everyone who smiles deserves your trust. Learn to say less. Learn to keep certain things between you, your soul, and the silence, not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. Some of the deepest growth happens in solitude. Some of the greatest healing happens in silence. You don't have to narrate every chapter while you're still writing the story. Let the ink dry first. Let the lessons settle. Let yourself understand what it all meant before you give it away to others who may never understand its weight. There is strength in restraint. There is wisdom in withholding. When you guard your story, you remain in control. You choose who gets to witness your truth and who only gets the highlight reel. You decide when to speak and when to stay quiet. That's power. Not everyone deserves to know the battles you've fought, or the nights you didn't sleep, or the doubts you overcame. Some people only want to know so they can feel less broken next to you, not so they can honor your strength. There is nothing weak about keeping your life private. In fact, it's one of the strongest things you can do. The world doesn't need to know your every move to validate your growth. You can evolve in silence. You can rebuild in private. You can shine without an announcement. And when the time is right, when the space is safe, you can choose who hears the truth, not to gain attention, but to give meaning, not to impress, but to inspire. Guard your story like it's gold, because the wrong hands will treat it like rust. They'll take your vulnerability and wear it like gossip. They'll misquote your truth and weaponize your honesty. And before you even realize it, your sacred journey becomes a version of events that doesn't even belong to you anymore. So protect your narrative, keep it sacred, speak when it serves you, not when it satisfies others. Your story is your power, your proof, your pride. Treat it with reverence, share it with intention, and never forget it's not for everyone. Let the world see the strength in your eyes, the grace in your silence, the resilience in your walk. That's enough. You don't have to explain what you've been through. The way you carry yourself already speaks volumes. Your peace grows in silence, not in the noise of opinions, not in the chaos of distractions, not in the echo chambers of validation, but in the quiet. That sacred, unshaken quiet where your mind can breathe, your heart can realign, and your spirit can return to center. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of clarity. It's the space where your thoughts become less jumbled and more purposeful, where your emotions stop shouting and start whispering truths you didn't know you were ready to hear. We often run from silence because we're afraid of what we might find there. But the truth is, silence doesn't hurt us, our refusal to sit with it does. Silence reveals what distraction hides. It strips away the noise, the ego, the pressure to perform. In silence, there is no one to impress. There's just you, raw, real, and whole, and that's exactly where peace begins. Peace doesn't require applause. It doesn't need recognition. It simply needs space, and silence creates that space. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't have to explain your journey to people committed to misunderstanding it. Let them wonder, let them assume, let them create their own stories if they must, because your truth doesn't require defense. The more you try to justify your peace, the more you invite noise into what was once calm. Silence teaches you to detach from that urge. It shows you the strength in being unbothered, in not reacting, in choosing peace over participation. You protect your energy when you practice silence. You become harder to shake, harder to read, harder to access, and in that stillness, you stop bleeding for people who would never bandage you. You stop fighting battles that don't belong to you. You stop explaining decisions that were never anyone's to understand. You begin to trust yourself more, because when all the voices fall away, yours is the only one left, and it finally gets a chance to be heard. Silence is where wisdom grows. It's where healing takes root. It's where confidence is built, not the loud, boastful kind, but the grounded, quiet kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that knows peace is priceless and won't trade it for anything, not even attention. And when you start prioritizing peace over proving your worth, everything changes. You no longer chase things that don't nourish your soul. You no longer stay where you're only half respected. You no longer force conversations that go nowhere. You begin to understand that silence is not passive, it's intentional. It's a choice, a boundary, a powerful form of communication that says, I don't need to respond to be in control. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise enough to know that peace isn't found in fighting every battle. It's found in walking away from them, in refusing to let someone else's chaos contaminate your calm. In silence, you become your own sanctuary. You stop outsourcing your peace to people, places, or performances. You find it in quiet mornings, in deep breaths, in being alone without feeling lonely. You stop needing to be seen all the time. You stop fearing what people might think. Because in silence, you finally see yourself, and that vision becomes louder than any opinion ever could. The most peaceful people are not those with the least to say, but those who no longer feel the need to say everything. They've learned the value of mystery, of privacy, of sacred spaces. They've realized that peace grows when you stop explaining yourself. It multiplies when you start moving with intention instead of impulse. It deepens when you walk away from noise and choose stillness instead. Silence doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've mastered the art of feeling without exploding, of hurting without broadcasting, of thinking without reacting. That's emotional maturity, that's strength, that's peace in its most powerful form, the kind that doesn't shake when tested, the kind that doesn't leave when provoked. So if you feel the world pulling you in every direction, if the noise becomes too much, return to silence. That's where you'll find your grounding. That's where your peace will meet you, not with loud declarations, but with quiet certainty. You don't need to prove you're at peace. You just need to be it. And when you are, the world feels it, even if you never say a word.